Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of MGR Unplugged. I'm here with David, and we have another full episode today. Lots of graphics, lots of things to discuss. We're going to discuss e-commerce, retailers, the reopening of the economy, and pretty much everything in between.
And the closing of retailers.
Yeah. And by the way, this weekend is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. A little difficult this year to be together and to go out to restaurants or buffets and things like that, but I'm sure we'll all be very creative and figure out something to have fun. So let's just get started with the show.
None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
All right, welcome back. David, how are you today?
I'm great.
What are you drinking there? What is that?
It's a new drink. I never had it before. This is my first impressions.
I'm asking you because it's called Ugly.
You want a quick 20-second review? Yeah, it's called Ugly Drinks.
He's Mr. DTC.
I follow the founder on Twitter. I like the brand. I think they do a good job marketing.
With the name Ugly. What is it called?
Ugly Drinks.
Ugly Drinks?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So much for brainstorming names and things like that.
I got their energy drink one because I needed the caffeine today. This is the first time trying it. This one's grapefruit. I got a variety pack because I never tried it. I'm not a big grapefruit guy, but it tastes exactly like grapefruit water. So if you
with it's like a soda, right? It has fits and stuff.
It's like a sparkling water, but it's a little more flavor than normal.
All right, so
caffeine
no sugar, but 160 says milligrams of caffeine.
160 milligrams of caffeine. So
all
it's
right,
like a healthier energy drink.
Hopefully you'll be all perked up this morning.
Yeah. I'll give my official review next week.
But how do you find out about these guys? You said Twitter. Are they a new
I
brand?
follow the founder on Twitter.
Okay.
And he offered, I think it was like 50% off for his
D2C
folks. So
okay.
I said, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Good deal. All right. So,
D2C people have to support other D2C people.
Yeah, of course. As long as the brands are good. But yeah, it's good to test them. I mean, we tested some coffee the other day.
Yeah. Oh, I actually forgot to mention them on the podcast because I was drinking it and we both were like, this is really good. And I forgot the name of it. It has a funny name. It's Drink Coffee, Do Stuff, I think is the name of it.
Yeah. That's right.
It's the best coffee. You can drink it black. If you can't drink a coffee black, in my opinion, it's not good coffee.
Okay, let's not get into that.
It's very smooth. It's good.
So we have one brand that is Drink Coffee, Do Stuff. And this one is called Ugly.
Yes.
So much for names.
Yeah, but that's how you stand out these days.
Yes. Hopefully for a good reason. So, so we are talking today a lot about the economy, and we've been
specifically the retail side, because that's
retail
where we
side and how
focus.
things are starting to kind of the dust starting to settle a little bit, and now it's been a full 2 months or even more, maybe about 10 weeks of coronavirus crisis or situation that we have, and we went through a full lockdown, closed down, and everything now is starting to reopen, and every company is starting to make plans. Some of them are making better plans than others and all that, and we'll get into that a little bit. But specifically on the retail side, we have a lot of things to cover. And it's funny because I was just looking at this graphic that we have there, and this is something that you sent out, I think, 3 days ago with the weekly e-commerce.
Yeah, so for people listening or even watching, it's kind of probably a little small. Basically, I sent this out in my weekly newsletter, and I wanted to discuss the retail ramifications that are happening as it relates to...
Look at the title at the bottom of the retail.
Yeah, my title was the retail apocalypse will bring the e-com boom. And it already is, basically. But for those who can't really see this graphic, what it's saying is this is from Credit Risk Monitor, which is a company that is a ratings company for retailers. And they rate basically how likely a retailer is to go bankrupt based on their current balance sheet, income statements, etc. And so a 1, if you have a rating of a 1, it's the worst possible rating. It's a 1 to 10 scale. And the number of companies that were rated 1 are JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, who at the time of this recording had not been bankrupt yet. About 2 days late, or I'm sorry, at the time of this writing, now they are bankrupt. Steinmart, Rite Aid, GameStop, GNC, Party City. Another one was J. Crew. They were also a 1. They went bankrupt. So already 2 of the companies that were on this list
Neiman
went bankrupt.
Marcus just declared or filed for bankruptcy protection this morning.
Right.
So I honestly, that retailer, has been like kind of outdated in my eyes for a while. They were like a luxury retailer, but it was just a huge markup for things, and they never adapted to the younger audience. So, not really surprised. But yeah, it's happening. I mean, a lot of companies are going to realize.
But even big ones who used to be like another one is L Brands. L Brands owns Victoria's Secret, Pink, and Bath and Body Works. Those are 3 brands that 5-10 years ago were very powerful, strong brands that did really, really well, had great margins, had lots of people shopping at them, and now they're on the verge of bankruptcy too. L Brands was going through. They were trying to sell Victoria's Secret to a separate company to spin it off, and now that basically fell through because of everything that's happened. And L Brands, which 5-10 years ago was this powerhouse company that had these brands, is now facing death's door, basically knocking on death's door.
Right. I mean, and this morning actually we just had the latest unemployment numbers, and another 3 million people or so filed for unemployment.
33 million.
We're up to 33. Which obviously is something. I mean, some of those employments will be recovered, but
but like to put it very simply, there's about 180 million working Americans, and 33 million are now unemployed.
Right.
And so that's.
But the other number
that's basically a sixth, or what is that? 17%, 18% of the
we're going to be at
workforce?
20 plus probably. But the other thing is that majority of these unemployed people today are in 2 or 3 industries, being hospitality, restaurants, obviously, and hospitality, and retailers. Yeah. Those are the major industries. I just listened this morning to another podcast, and I think I heard that 11 million people work in hospitality in the U.S. So that's that's a lot of people that are basically unemployed or furloughed or something, that they're basically not having work. And to make things worse, that's actually the industry that will probably take the longest to recover, based on the phases that the government establishes. Because I mean, they're saying, like restaurants. We discussed that to death last week, and we said, okay, restaurants are going to start opening, and they tell you can only open at 25% capacity or 50% capacity. That's not viable for restaurants to open like that, because if they
same
tell
thing
you,
with airlines, they were saying, no middle seats. It's like, well, airlines go out of business if they don't sell middle seats.
Well, they have 2 options. Either they double the prices to fly, which obviously is going to be more expensive, but then fewer people will be able to afford to fly, or they don't make the revenue or the profit that they're supposed to, so it's not viable for them to fly with only half a plane being full. The trend has been to squeeze more seats and decrease leg room and everything to put more passengers on the same plane, and now they're telling them to do the opposite, which is basically not feasible. So in a restaurant, it's the same thing. It's say you can open with more social distance and more space and only 50% of capacity or something. It's like they tell you, okay, you can drive the car now with 3 wheels. It's like, okay, well, I can't drive the car with 3 wheels. It's just not feasible. So it's almost like might as well just stay close, So in the retail, it's the same thing. I mean, retail is also another challenge, because they're going to have to have more. They're going to have to reinvent the stores and all that. And that's another reason why some of these stores are saying, okay, well, if I'm going to open now with more rules of the game, I may not even, my margins before were so slim already, I may not be able to reopen. It may just be better off for me to file for bankruptcy and make a deal with my creditors.
I think that the commercial real estate industry, the owners of all these properties, are going to have to come to the realization that, because basically they have 2 options. I mean, the current rents that most of these stores are paying, they just can't afford them, because even if we reopen, like you said, and it's at limited capacity, they're not going to make enough money. They just can't afford it with the rent that they have to pay. And so they're going to come to the decision, the real estate owners are going to have to come to the decision, okay, do we basically accept that, or we're going to have to cut our rent prices by 30% to make it so these companies stay in business? Because the alternative is, okay, then they declare bankruptcy and close the store, period. So now you have 0 rent. And it's not like there's new people running the open retail stores right now. So I think the property owners are in for a major wake-up call. And I think that the best choice for them, honestly, is to just mark down the prices of the rentals than... Because what would you rather have? Basically, all right, we're going to cut all of our rent 20-30%, or half of our retail space just go to zero. And by the way, there's no one coming to replace them, because those are kind of the choices. It's not an easy choice, but I think that they're going to have to do that. And so far, they haven't wanted to budge. And obviously, I know there's contracts and it's complex, but at the end of the day, if they can't pay, if the person renting can't pay, no different than if it's a house or if it's commercial, they can't pay, they can't pay. And I just think that if you have thousands of stores that basically close down, it's not like those are just going to come back right away, that there's new retailers coming in to fill those spaces.
Well, I remember we said a couple of weeks ago too, when we said that some of the contracts, especially for malls, shopping malls, are based on the anchor stores being there, one of them being Neiman Marcus. So if this store disappears, then a lot of smaller retailers that were feeding off of the customers that were going to Neiman Marcus can say, hey, my lease is off now, my contract is off, because my condition to be here was basically that I was next door to Neiman Marcus, which is now going away, so I can basically break my lease. So that's the whole situation. But one thing that I've been thinking more the last week or so, or maybe a couple of weeks, is this kind of situation where we're getting back to normal, if you will, little by little, trying to say that we're going to reopen little, stores and restaurants and driving and going out and all that stuff. But it looks like there's another, which I never expected. It looks like now there's like another pandemic of fear with people. Like I actually thought, okay, everybody's locked down in their houses, and then as soon as the government says, okay, we're kind of starting to phase out and go out, everybody will be like, oh yeah, let's go out and do everything. But actually, there's a lot of people that are afraid to go out and afraid to go to restaurants, afraid to go shopping. Right.
That's what I was saying, a few weeks ago. I said, okay, even if we reopen things, that doesn't mean, are people just going to be running to movie theaters?
But
I don't think
not
so.
Not just the people, the consumers, but also the employees. There are employees that are saying, I don't want to go back to work, and especially people that are in retail and in places like restaurants and things like that. I mean, there's people that work at restaurants that say, I don't know if I want to go back to my restaurant and be there with all these people that I don't know, and I don't know if I had testing protection, all the new requirements to make me feel safe. So well, I mean, you go to a hospital or whatever, people are with all these PPEs and everything, and then you have all this protection, and then all of a sudden you're an employee and they say, all right, we're ready to get started or reopen next week. We're going to have 50% of you guys come out, each of them at a time. We're going to have 50% of people. Okay, that's fine. Let's traffic to a restaurant and all that stuff. But some people are saying no. I mean, like a mother may say, no, I don't want to go there. For one, they're collecting unemployment, which is a bonus these days.
Right.
And secondly, it's like, I don't want to put myself at risk, and then maybe my kids, my house, and all that stuff. So it's not that clear that people want to go back to go out, to normal and all that stuff. Yeah, you hear all the beaches are full and all that stuff. That's different. That's just people going to a beach, biking and doing whatever they want. But when it comes to going to public places, I don't think it's that clear that a restaurant opens and then, finally we are reopening. No, that doesn't mean that you're going to have A, people there, and B, any margins or profits or anything else. The same for retailers and everything. So it's a little bit of a question mark to me how that's going to happen,
Yeah, I don't think people are going to be rushing out. I mean, because there's just so many question marks. Because even like we said before, at the limited capacity, does it make sense for a restaurant to open if they can only have 40% capacity? Probably not. The answer is probably no. Same thing for retail stores. So I don't know. And then obviously the even bigger looming question is, what does the second wave look like? Once we reopen, how many people get infected? Because then if all of a sudden we see a massive spike and just tons of people getting cases, and then they say, okay, we're going to have to shut things down again. I mean, the market's still being not up, but like not down very much, and really kind of almost close to fully recovered. doesn't make sense at all, especially when you consider that, like I said, we have like 18% unemployment now when we had 3%.
Yeah, well,
ago.
I mean, the market is forward thinking, so they're not so much talking about.
Okay, but forward thinking, I mean, Disney just basically reported numbers yesterday, and they're down like 70%.
Well, obviously, theme parks and all that stuff, but they also expect. I mean, people forget about the streaming and all that we discussed here too. They cut the dividend, by the way. So, but the market, we already know there's a big disconnect. In fact, this morning, and we'll get into that a little later, but this morning, as of today, the NASDAQ index is up for the year, which is amazing. Obviously, it's most of the tech companies that are doing better than the non-tech companies.
But my thinking is, if there's a second wave, and it means that we kind of lock things down again and go into another basically social distancing, whatever, I think that if that happens again, let's say that happens in July or August, that's when the markets will completely collapse. Because the markets right now are betting on, okay, this was a rough few months, but we're reopening everything and things are going back.
Yeah.
And that's what the markets are betting on. But if all of a sudden we have to lock down again and say there's another, maybe come August, September, we have to shut down for 2 more months, I think the market's completely collapse.
I've been known for making the wrong predictions, but I don't think there's going to be a second wave like the first wave.
Why not?
Well, for one, we know much. The first one was a surprise, so to speak. Right. Okay. The extent of the wave of the pandemic was a surprise, and there was a lot of misinformation on who was saying what, when, and all that stuff, and there still is. But at least now we have more procedures in place and all that stuff. So if there is a second wave, I don't think it's going to be as bad as the first one. And secondly, now we're more ready. The world is more ready.
Yeah, we're more ready
to implement things.
But you can't. Like, I'm not, and first of all, I do think we should start reopening things. I mean, like, I think it's very...
It gets to a point where you cannot keep it closed for so long. I mean, the government can only print so much money. We're talking inflation, deflation. I mean, you can only... I mean,
no, I think we should
we're all living here on basic... I mean, most people are living on universal basic income, whatever you're going to call it.
Yeah, but that doesn't last.
Exactly.
Because that only makes sense if you have production. But if you have no production, then it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So it gets to a point where you say, okay, right now, this is not sustainable the way we are. It may work for 2 months, 10 weeks, but then at some point, we need to reopen the economy and then deal with our consequences. And it's some stuff because, okay, we will have a second wave. Well, the second wave, hopefully now we'll learn something from the first one and we can address it better. I don't think the second wave, if it happens, will be in the summer. I'm more concerned about the fall winter season when you start mixing with the flu.
It'll definitely happen in the fall.
Right.
It's definitely going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's known. But by then, hopefully in 4 or 5 months, we have some kind of medication that is starting to work a little better. They're already trying more vaccines. The actual vaccine is not going to be ready probably for a while, but they're saying that they have some treatments. As long as the hospitals...
The treatments have been kind of up in the air because even was it called remdesivir?
Yeah. But now
how do you pronounce it?
Remdesivir. The wrong guy. I don't know.
Anyways.
I've heard it many ways. But
it looks like that doesn't work, basically. And that was all a bunch of hubbub. But it doesn't work.
No, I mean, there's another company that I was just looking this morning that is also in phase 2 of the vaccine testing approved by the FDA and other stuff. So, I mean, and this is just in the U.S. I mean, keep in mind, Germany, I mean, every country, China included, are working on treatment/vaccine. So the more time goes by, the more we'll be moving forward towards that kind of solution. But
yeah, but I mean, I do think we should reopen things, but I think it's inevitable. I think the only way you should reopen things, especially if I'm a store and I want to reopen, you have to make masks and gloves mandatory. I just think, because, the thing that bothers me is things are kind of reopening. I went to the grocery store a couple days ago, and for the last month or so, everybody's been wearing masks. Obviously, the employees are wearing masks, but I mean customers too. But this, for whatever reason, maybe it was just small sample size, but I was in the store, and I walked past, I don't know, 5, 6 different people who had no gloves, no mask, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, if I'm a grocery store, I would say you're not allowed in here if you're not wearing a mask.
I mean, I noticed that too, that a lot of people are starting to kind of relax their own discipline of saying...
But if everybody... It's so much easier to open the economy if everyone's wearing masks, right? But if half the people just aren't going to wear masks...
Including our president and vice president.
Well, yeah, of course. But then it's going to spread. I mean, I think it's really irresponsible if you're going out without a mask. Like, I think we should reopen things, but we should have to wear masks and gloves, especially if you're going to like a place that's like a retail store. Yeah, I don't want you better be wearing gloves when you're touching stuff. If you're at a grocery store, please wear a mask and gloves when you're going through things.
They're gonna have to. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, I was just looking at retailers and hotels, restaurants, and there's tons of proposals out there of how the restaurants and the hotels and everything will have to reopen. And obviously, it's not, you need to make the guests or customers feel comfortable going out. I mean, some restaurants have made a killing actually during these times with takeouts and adapting to food orders and all that stuff. But obviously, hotels are mostly shut down, if not completely shut down. And Jesus, a fly here. But the thing is, you know, most of these places we're going to have to, they're already adjusting. I mean, I was just reading this morning that all the major chains, I'm more concerned about the smaller boutique hotels that are going to have to fork out a little money to change their structure. But some of the major chains are already saying, okay, well, like the Marriotts and the Hiltons and all those are saying, okay, we're going to have to adjust how people check. Basically trying to make as little contact as possible, like contactless situations where the guests can just check in with their phone. They open the door with their phone. They don't have doorknobs. They order food. The food comes sealed. There's no buffets or anything like that. The food comes or packaged and sealed. And I just learned too that the food apparently is not at risk for the virus, basically. So that's a good thing. Apparently food is not contagious. So the virus doesn't attach to food. And they said that.
What? That doesn't make any sense at all. So it attaches to human skin, but not animals?
No, because I mean the virus, remember, needs to attach to your DNA, to the RNA, basically. So when you have food,
but
it doesn't survive.
It can still live on surfaces.
Not for very long. I don't know. You can research that, but I just basically.
I mean, it lives on plastic for up to 3 days. Plastic definitely doesn't have RNA.
I don't know. All I'm telling you is
that. I don't believe that.
Well, it was a restaurateur that is pretty famous.
Oh, a restaurateur. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna say the name, but it's basically known that the virus doesn't attach to food. It doesn't live on food, and then in packaging they say it's 99% risk-free. So when you have food that is sealed and packaged and delivered to you,
let me ask you this.
Pretty safe.
If you go to a hotel. And you basically go to this hotel, you have to isolate yourself. You have to get packaging in your room. You have to, you have all these stress and procedures.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Why would I go to a hotel?
Well, I mean, sometimes you have to travel for business.
I think there's going to be no business travel this year.
I don't know. I mean, that's... Because
why would anybody go do business travel when you can just have a conference call right now? I mean, you can just do a Zoom
because
call.
People like to travel and like to...
Yeah, people like to travel when it's good and fun, but it's not fun to travel right now.
Well, I mean, that's adapting. I mean, I don't say you go to a hotel and you have different... Frankly, there's things that hotels were doing before that I didn't like at all. I mean, like, you go to fitness rooms and things like that. And...
we have a fly in the studio.
I know. So
he really likes you. He hasn't been bothering me, so I'm not complaining.
Yes, well. So no, I mean, there's things that hotels are going to improve, and I think, I mean, like I said before, the major chains are going to be able to do it just fine.
Do you want to take a break and kill this fly?
Let me kill this fly 1 second.
We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back from this.
I slew the dragon.
So the fly was another victim of the coronavirus.
Yes. Mark it as a coronavirus death.
Yeah, exactly. It went from life to death right away. Extreme case. Anyways, we were talking about the. You were saying, okay, why do business people or business travel will come back, or travel for that matter?
Yeah, travel. Obviously, there's vacation travel and business travel. Vacation travel is what I was saying. Where if it's gonna be so stressful and you're gonna be isolated and no buffets and no pools and it's like, well, that's half the reason.
No, not necessarily.
Travel.
I mean, it's not going to be that strict. I mean, it's going to be basically for what I've read, and this is just actually this morning, for the big hotel chains. Obviously, the independent hotels are going to have to figure out what to do. But for the bigger hotel chains, they're saying, like the Marriotts and the Hiltons, they're putting some guidelines, which obviously need to be implemented, but they're saying, okay, well, the rooms are going to be much more minimalistic. You're going to have so many decoration stuff, so many touch points, like you're going to have minimal stuff around the rooms as far as menus and things that could be more potentially transmitting the virus. The soap dispensers and all the stuff will be like almost touchless, that you just like you do in some places, like you just get your hand and then you touch stuff. You don't have to touch anything. You can actually select the type of room service that you want as far as housekeeping. You can say, don't touch my room from the moment I come in until I leave. If I'm here for 3-4 days, I'll make my bed, whatever. Obviously, I like to see they're going to give you a price break if you are doing all your stuff yourself. But basically, you can say nobody comes to my room outside of the people that I want to, So you can select the level of housekeeping and room service and stuff that you want. You can order your food to come to your room, and it comes completely sealed and packaged as you do now with any of the food delivery services. You go to the pool, there's going to be social distance. Obviously, you're with your family. You don't need to keep social distance with your family. It's between nucleus of families and other people, So
No, I know that
in the water, in the pool is fine.
I know that they're going to take all types of measures. I'm
Right.
saying that, is that really fun to be on vacation and having to constantly think about protocols and measures that you have to go through?
I think it's just people adjusting. You have the option of not going on vacation or being in your house or going to a park, and they're also promoting much more staycations. A lot of people, they're even saying that vacations this year. Well, first of all, in all European countries, they are telling people to stay home, to stay in their cities.
Right.
You can vacation in your city, which obviously is fine. I mean, some people live in better cities than others to go on vacation. But they say the term staycation that we use here in Arizona a lot is going to become much more common, because they're asking people for this summer, forget about traveling. You're going to have to stay within, at the most, you're going to go to your second residence. You have a little house in the mountains or something, But that's the thing. The other thing that was just looking is that people are actually thinking, okay, you're going to be within a 300-mile radius. That's kind of like the driving distance, because flying is going to be either too expensive or impossible or limited. So they say, okay, driving your car 300 miles, that's basically 5-hour drive, whatever, and then go somewhere. And I actually thought that the Airbnbs would be more successful than the hotels, because if I go to a hotel, I have many more. My thinking, and we've been to tons of both places, and Airbnb, yeah, you have the contact with the person in the beginning. They give you for a whole house. I'm not going to talk about sharing a room or sharing a house, but for a whole apartment, you rent it for like a week, and then you bring your family there, and that's your apartment. You clean it. You do everything, and you don't have to worry about anything else, other guests coming in or touching or whatever, So once it's yours, it's yours.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if I'm thinking about it, I'd probably rather stay in an Airbnb.
Right, that's my point. That as much as the Airbnb people are super upset because the company has not been very responsive or helpful with the hosts. In fact, some of the hosts are actually now.
I think the hosts are being a little entitled.
Yes,
I think that they're like everybody's affected. It's like, listen, nobody's traveling, so what is Airbnb supposed to do? Airbnb really is a marketplace.
Without kind of getting too much into that, it was mostly about the cancellation fees. There's cancellation fees.
Yeah, I know.
The hosts
normally, yes.
Those people are business people too. They have their mortgages to pay and all that, and all of a sudden if they have cancellation fees, and then Airbnb basically waived any fees or anything for people that were canceling because of the coronavirus.
I get their complaint, but at the same time, the cancellation fees are for normal circumstances where the person cancels.
I understand.
But if they're forced to cancel because there's a fucking pandemic, what is the customer supposed to do?
Right.
Hotels had to do the same thing. So I think that they're being a little entitled, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. I don't want to get into that. But but I agree that if I were to travel now and say, okay, let's go a week to to the beach somewhere, California, whatever, or the mountain, I'll look for an Airbnb. Cabin.
I'd probably go Airbnb.
And then, select a nice host, make sure the house is clean, and then obviously viruses on surfaces only last for so long, and then you go to the house, and then, okay, now it's my house, I'm going to clean it up, nobody else comes in, So, but in a hotel, it's a different experience. So the hotels are trying to become almost like multiple Airbnb nucleus, where you can have people that are staying in the hotel, they go to the pool, but you don't have to have a lot of interaction with other guests. You don't want to. The restaurants are going to be very limited with spacing and all that stuff. Then you can have room service, the pools and all that stuff. They can be spacious. I mean, the water is fine. So, I mean, I think they'll recover, but it's going to be, if anything, I think they will become much more creative. And some of the hotel chains that are more forward thinking and they work for the business traveler, I'm thinking more like maybe W's and things like that, or even Aloft and all this, that are more minimalistic. And Aloft doesn't even have restaurants. So all those that are like modern hotels that just say, okay, you stay here, it's business, you have internet connection, you have everything you want, but it's fine and nothing else, you know, and you can do everything automatically. I think those will recover faster. Now, the independent little boutique hotel that still uses keys or cards or things like that have a lot of contact and all that stuff, those may have a little harder time convincing guests to stay there, you know. So those are going to, and obviously the owners are going to have to decide, do I keep it open? Do I invest into this new wave? Because what is clear is that this is not going to be just 2, 3, 4 months and we're back to normal. That normal is not going to happen. This is just moving forward.
I
this
think,
is the way things are going to
like
go.
on the restaurant side, I think that the innovation that I've seen that was already happening a little bit, but now it got way accelerated because of this. Besides the delivery, obviously, is the main thing. But the main innovation I've seen, and I think that there's tons of opportunity here, and that there will be a major company to be made if they can figure it out, which is basically people like cooking, and that's fine, and they don't mind cooking from home. But a lot of times, I cook for myself most days, but a lot of times it's just I don't feel like making anything, and I want something different. And I'm sure that's the case, especially if you have family. Obviously I'm just cooking for myself, but if I had to cook for a whole family every night, I'd be tired. I'd be exhausted from that. And so a lot of people are doing delivery, but I think the next evolution beyond just that, because the delivery, the problem with that is it's very expensive. That you have to pay a delivery driver to do that. The restaurants have to give DoorDash or Postmates or whoever their 15% cut, and there's lots of expenses that go into that. And then on the customer side, because right now these apps are surviving or basically thriving because they lose money and because the customer isn't paying the full rate that it actually costs them. But if in the future, if it realistically costs like $7, $8 for a delivery of a $15 meal, I don't know how many people are going to want to pay that, because that's probably the real cost. Even if they offer free delivery sometimes, or like $4 or $5 delivery, the real cost is like $7, $8.
But think about it this way.
But let me finish, because that is a constraint, right? If you're buying something for $15 and now there's an $8 delivery cost on top of that, that's a lot. But then the evolution I've seen is that lots of restaurants are now working on basically prepackaged meals. So it's still made by a chef and they're made from their menu, but it's prepackaged. It's almost like, actually a little different, but almost like Blue Apron back in the day, which, they kind of rest in peace. They still exist, but they're like down 99% from their highs. But it's like prepackaged food, where basically it takes like 5-10 minutes to reheat and do whatever you need to do. And then it's ready to go. And you have like a full restaurant meal at home. And I've seen lots of restaurants try to do this so that it's not just delivery, but, you can buy these prepackaged meals.
Obviously, that's the
goal. And I think that if a company can come and basically offer that as a service, because the problem is if you're an independent restaurant, now you got to find how to do this. You got to find packaging. You got to coordinate. No, but if you can have a company that basically goes to the restaurants and says, okay, we'll do everything for you. You give us the recipes and the meals and everything, and then we'll pre-package and do all the logistical side for you that the restaurants don't want to bother with, and then obviously we take a fee. I think that there's a real business there, and I think that that's something that we'll see grow.
A couple of things there. Some of the restaurants are already doing that.
Yeah, they are. I just think that it's not being done at a wide scale,
right?
That it could
but that's like everything. Some restaurants are just saying, okay, we're going to shut down for 2-3 months and fire employees, and then they're going to have a hard time getting them back because of the unemployment thing. The other challenge is the companies, including hospitality or restaurants, that apply for the PPP or the Paycheck Protection Program, and they get the loan from the SBA. They're supposed to use the money, obviously, to keep their employees. That's what it's for, to be forgivable. So, but they're supposed to use it by June. They don't know if they can open by June. So if they don't open by June,
right?
Then, or they get, and then, like I said before, they're trying to get their employees back, and they're saying, well, I'm not sure if I want to go back because.
Well, but what I'm saying is.
But that's one point. But let me get back to your point about the packaging. Some of the restaurants are actually adjusting and saying, hey, you know what, we're going to offer a food to go. And they actually reshaped their dining rooms into a food packaging section.
Yeah, exactly.
So what they do, they have their kitchen, they have their chef, they have whatever staff they think based on demand, and then they have a whole packaging section in the dining room normally, just to get the full all packaged and sealed.
Here's the thing too. The benefit of this, there's two main benefits. One, selling packaged food is more profitable than selling these meals because for various reasons. Because when someone comes in, inventory is a big deal for restaurants, and a lot of times they end up with unused inventory. But if you can package that into meals, then you don't have to worry about that as much. And then two, it's much more scalable. As you know, and we've said many times, people only buy from restaurants within a few miles of where they live. But if you are a restaurant that now can package food, you can sell to anybody in your city, anybody in your state. You have much wider range.
So even if they have to open with 50% capacity and they say, okay, at 50% and they're going to make a profit, but you need to open with an open mind and saying, okay, now I'm open for business. And then, yes, I can only get 50% of the people in my dining room at the same time. So maybe if I normally get 50 people a night, maybe I'm going to get 100, like two shifts or whatever, an hour, whatever, maybe 150, whatever. It's 50% of what you used to. But the goal is to get the other 50% to order the food to go. And then you have a system in which before maybe you didn't even offer food to go. Or for sale. And now you're basically changing your business model to say, hey, we have dine in or order to go. And to your point of the cost, you're saying, okay, well, the delivery of the food is $7-8, which is kind of expensive. Okay, well, think about the whole thing. If you go to a restaurant, you go together, then you drive, 10-15 minutes to go to a restaurant. That's the time and expense and fuel and all the stuff.
I know. No,
then
I
you go
understand.
to the restaurant, then you pay food there, and then you pay a tip, 15-20% if you are normal tipper, come back and all that stuff. So and then you have the restaurant experience of being out of your house. But really, you get out of the house and you eat out. Now, you like the restaurant and you say, you know what? I like the restaurant. Maybe I just get a movie at home and then just order the food from the restaurant I like, from the chef I like, and it comes perfectly packaged. And yeah, you're gonna pay $7 for the delivery, but you're saving those $7 in fuel, tips, this, that, and the other. So
I'm not disagreeing.
So
I'm saying
the cost really balances out.
I'm not disagreeing, but I will say that the delivery costs. There's a reason why Postmates and DoorDash and all these companies compete on the lower prices, because the higher price really is a friction point, because people will maybe pay $4 or $5 for delivery, but if now it's $8, I think a lot of people will not pay that. And you can, because a lot of it is perceived value too, because when you go to the restaurant, like you said, it's like you're going out, you're doing this, and you're just getting food delivered to your home, and now all of a sudden this meal costs $23. There's a lot of food that you can buy for $23 rather than one single meal,
Right. But
my point was on the packaging side. If you pre-package the food, then the delivery fee is much cheaper because you can ship it basically instead of doing delivery where you're paying someone. And then on top of that, like I said, it's much more scalable. So you don't have to just deliver to people in a small radius. You can send to anyone in your city instead. That's the point of the pre-packaged.
If it were me, and I'm not into a restaurant business at all, but if it was me and I had a normal traditional restaurant that people come in, order, sit in, eat, and leave, and all that stuff, more or less successful through the weekends and all that, I would probably figure out a plan where I'm going to have about 50% of the business for now that is dining in, and then the other 50% or 40 or 30%, whatever it is, that is going to be to go, and I'll promote that to the people that are coming in. But let me finish. I promote that to the people that come in, but also start offering some kind of membership plan, like my restaurant Amazon Prime membership offer, where it says, hey, you order, you pay this annual fee, and then you get free delivery of your food for the entire year. Guess what? When I have an order, I'm going to go to restaurant A, which is going to charge me $5-6, or restaurant B that I'm already a member, and it comes free. So that choice all of a sudden becomes more steered towards that restaurant. So even though I'm losing money maybe with the delivery, I'm earning money because that guy is ordering from me 10, 12, 15 times a year versus maybe just randomly selecting me once every 6 months because he's rotating between many restaurants. So you can create a lot of loyalty plans or things so people order from you on a weekly basis, just like you like weekly to get Chipotle or whatever. If you have a nice, more upscale restaurant that you like and you say, you know what, it's only 50% and I already called and they're booked for this weekend, or whatever, but I just order to get home, and then I'm a member or whatever.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying
you can be creative.
I think the productization of what they sell is really what the most innovative restaurants are going to do, because then once you have a product, instead of just people having to come in, because to go and take out, that's been around for a long time. That's not an innovation. It's just that a lot of restaurants, obviously you don't do takeout for fine dining. Okay, that's not normal. Now
you do.
Well, okay, I'm saying normally it's actually seen, because before it used to be takeout is like takeout. It's not high quality food, it's just takeout. Now, obviously, because of the crisis, they've changed their rules and they will do takeout. But I'm saying beyond takeout, I think that the packaged meals is a real opportunity, because then you can be a high whatever, maybe not a Michelin star restaurant, but whatever, any type of high class restaurant, and then sell these prepackaged meals, because that's a product and that's so much more scalable.
Well, that's gonna,
and
like,
I think that can be a real revenue driver for them, and especially right now where, like we said, they're going to be at 50% capacity, that selling these packaged meals is a real opportunity.
But are they packaged like frozen, or how? What do you do?
It depends on what it is.
Because that's what loses to me. I mean, I don't mind ordering something, and then the restaurant says, "Okay, something from a limited menu," and then
it's
to-go
like,
menu,
it's like
and then
meal
they.
prep. Like lots
I
of
understand,
people do
but
meal prep, and all you do is basically everything's done and cooked for you, and then basically you have 5 minutes of prep and you're ready to go, and you have this beautiful restaurant meal.
But
in
then
5 minutes.
Okay, but that's. I thought you were talking about packaging. You can ship it. What do you mean by shipping it? How you ship it? I mean, you put it in a UPS to go to another place, or
yeah,
is it within?
Depends on where the person
well,
is.
then the food needs to be somehow frozen or preserved, because it's not
packaged food. So yeah,
well, I understand, but that
depends
loses
on what the food is.
But that loses the freshness. I mean,
yeah, of course it loses a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I know. I mean, then it's a big stretch, because I think
I'm telling you it's happening, and I'm telling you that this is going to be a major thing.
I don't know.
I mean, I'll say it right now.
No, I know, but I know, like,
I guarantee you that 2 years from now, almost every successful restaurant will have a packaged food as a part of their offering that they sell on the side as supplemental income. I guarantee.
But that's not going to be for the local person. I mean, maybe
That's
they have a
my
website.
point. That's my point, because it allows you to scale. If you're a restaurant, you have such a limited customer base, but if you sell prepackaged foods, then you have a much wider customer base.
So let me ask you, how do you come across that restaurant? I mean, let's say that you...
Well, it's like anything. I mean, there's different opportunities. If there could be a marketplace where, in the same way you can go on DoorDash and see all these restaurants that deliver, I can go on whatever, Package Dash, and see all these prepackaged meals from all these restaurants. You know, there's opportunities for that. Restaurants can just market it themselves.
I mean, I would only do that if I travel to a city on vacation or whatever, and I go to a restaurant and I say, man, that whatever that I ate there was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I find them, and then I have that shipped to me. But then you have to plan ahead. If it's like a shipping, like a UPS, it's going to be in 2 days. It's not going to be like, I need to plan for this weekend. It's a whole different mindset for that, which is fine. I understand that's a business model, but it's
you're not a foodie. People love food.
I understand. I love food too, but I love food when I want it. I don't plan food 3 days ahead.
A lot of people do.
You know,
people plan trips around going to a certain restaurant.
I understand, but like you said, sometimes you're at home and then you're at work or whatever, and you come home or whatever you're doing, say, you know what, I don't feel like cooking now or anything here. I'm gonna call my favorite restaurant, and back in the day, you say, you just show up, hey buddy, I'm here for dinner, whatever, you know, the waitress and other stuff, you stay there, or you go to your favorite restaurant and have dinner. Now you can't, maybe it's booked, maybe you don't have a reservation or something. You order the same food that you like, and they deliver it to you in half an hour.
The problem with the delivery for the restaurants is that it's not profitable, because the DoorDashes and Postmates take so much of a cut.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
but the prepackaged food is. That's my point.
I understand, but there's pros and cons to both options.
Of course, there's pros and cons.
But
of course, buying prepackaged food is never going to be as good as going to the restaurant and having it
maybe
cooked.
If I'm a successful restaurant, I offer delivery from my own people within a 5-mile radius of my restaurant. I don't need to get DoorDash or whatever. If I have a guy that I'm paying,
that, but that's not easy, because you need the demand for that. If you're going to have someone full-time delivering, and then you probably need more than one person depending on there's a reason why they use DoorDashes, because
I understand.
it's basically as DoorDash has a mega network, and then you get them as you need it. But if you have 2 hours where you don't have any orders for delivery and you're paying a dude $15 an hour.
No, you don't pay a dude. I mean, in the pizza places, you have basically with pizza for deliveries, you have guys that are there cooking.
Yeah, because they have enough demand, because it's like Domino's and people order pizza.
Right.
Custom.
I mean, there's different
But if you're
options.
a restaurant, it's different.
Well, I don't
And
know.
what happens if you have one guy, because normally you get 3 orders an hour and the one guy can deliver those. But what happens if you get 10 orders in an hour? Then all of a sudden you don't have enough people.
You have DoorDash all those as a backup. But you can
but
you can get, I mean, it's no different than I can deliver something, or if I'm out of time, I just basically...
Trust me, if restaurants could deliver themselves and cut DoorDash out, they would, but they can't. That's
they can for certain things. I mean, in some cases they may say, hey, Johnny, you're free now. Just drop this off 3 blocks from here. And I mean, as you know, you also know we were ordering things from local sub shops. I think it was whatever that they offer their own drivers. Wasn't it like
some do that? Like Jimmy John's does that.
Yeah, exactly.
But those are
Firehouse or something
but
was
that's
doing something like that.
That's like. But no, most of them still use DoorDash and Postmates.
No, obviously those guys are. But either way, I mean, I don't care if it's not
But those are not restaurants. Those are basically
fast food places,
chain
whatever.
foods.
Right.
I'm talking about
But
a restaurant.
Even if I'm a restaurant and if I'm ordering something from a restaurant, it's like whatever, $50, $60, a bottle of wine, my favorite soup and dinner and steak or whatever, and it comes to already packaged nice, just like a room service type thing that comes to my house. Okay, room service, you also pay this gratuities and all that stuff that are involved. So okay, I'm ordering that. I'm paying extra for convenience. Maybe the restaurant says, okay, food delivery is a little more expensive than having dinner here, but you're saving on tips and all that stuff. And then guess what? If I'm paying 15% of food delivery,
I'm not saying the
maybe we
delivery
split the bill.
isn't good for the customer, but I'm saying for the restaurant.
No, I'm saying
it is
that
not profitable.
Okay.
This is well known. Either that or restaurants are just gonna have to increase their prices, and they say, okay, this meal at our restaurant is $20, but if you want it delivered, it's $25.
I'm
or
thinking.
$30.
I think you're making a blanket statement as far as not profitable. It's not as profitable.
I'm telling you. I mean, a
No,
lot of restaurants
but-
lose money on DoorDash just so
Yes.
they get customers.
I know, David. I know, but you also need to understand that when you have a business model, you organize it like that. You don't need the full staff. You don't need. I know, and I'm not gonna name the restaurant because it's a major restaurant in Chicago, but very famous, that during this time has been delivering foods, and they decided to do, hey, let's just do food deliveries. They started with 200 a week, and then they went to 500, then they went to, they've been doubling to a point that they've made 6 figures during this time with basically half of the staff, and they made a living because they realized that a lot of people like their food, and even with the deliveries and all that stuff, they still made a lot of money. Obviously, you don't hire your 20 staff people or whatever, you hire 10 and you have different shifts or whatever, but people are getting used to that. And then when do you reopen, you say, hey, we still offer that convenience now. Now you're going to realize that it's like sometimes you feel like going to a restaurant. Many times, I'm not a big foodie or anything, but when I go to a restaurant, sometimes I go because I like that particular food. Not so much the restaurant, the waiting, the people, the crowd, whatever, but some restaurants, if I could just order that restaurant upscale or good quality food that I like, whether it's a steak or fish or something.
And what if you could order it, but at the restaurant, you really like this restaurant when you visited Chicago, but now you don't live in Chicago and you want that food and they sell it prepackaged.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm going to exchange or trade off the freshness of what I like.
Depends what you're eating.
Yeah.
Obviously, a steak is not going to be something that you can
what am I
ship.
going to eat? But I mean, if I go to a restaurant, I have a good steak or good fish, good salmon, good this, good that is nice and juicy and just cooked. So if somebody's gonna ship it to me from Chicago, it's like, I don't care. If I'm gonna have to put it in the microwave, that just basically kills everything.
Well, I wouldn't put it in the microwave.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Or in the stove or in the range or whatever. I mean, you're a big steak guy, and you don't even like to wait half an hour after you make your steak before you eat it, do you? No, because it dries out. You basically
it would get cold. Why would I wait half an hour after I eat
No,
a steak?
but you don't like to reheat it or do anything. So
No, of course you don't want to reheat it.
So you're gonna wait 2 days to have the best steak from anywhere, and then just comes to you, and then that kind of medium rare thing that you order.
Okay, I'm telling you, this is gonna happen. If you don't agree, that's
No,
fine.
I think it will happen for some things. But I'm saying that this whole thing started because I think we need to get into.
And my point was on the delivery, that maybe you have an exception of a restaurant that's doing really well, but for the far majority of restaurants, restaurants, DoorDash is either break even or money losing.
I understand, but it's the same thing for hotels. We discussed this when they go through online travel agencies, so they book direct. Okay, book direct and save. Yeah, of course. But I need a travel agency to bring me the customer in the first place. If I pay 30%
but not
commission,
for the difference with DoorDash. The difference with the online travel agencies. If I'm going to visit some city and I say, okay, I need to find a hotel. I'm going to go to New York. I need to find a hotel in New York. Then yeah, that's easy to search. But a lot of times it's like, oh, I already know this restaurant. I already go there all the time, but I want it delivered. So it's not that they're bringing me new customers. I'm already a customer of that restaurant, but now I just need it delivered, and they're giving a huge cut to DoorDash.
all right, so let me go back to my original question. So if you had a restaurant, a local restaurant that was fairly successful before all this happened, and in a neighborhood that is basically local people, I mean, people only travel so far to go to a restaurant, and you've been basically shut down for now, and all of a sudden you start thinking, okay, I need to, hopefully you've been thinking for a while, but now you're reopening and getting back to normal, adjusting your restaurant layout for the 50% capacity or whatever. How else do you supplement your income? Because you can only get 50% of the people, which basically is not going to make it profitable for you.
I would do delivery, but I have higher prices for delivery. And if people are willing to pay that, that's fine. If they're willing to pay higher price, that's fine. So my $20.
So you're passing on to the customer your delivery cost.
Yeah. So if basically this meal that is on my menu is normally $20, if you want delivery, it's $25. And if they're willing to pay that, that's fine. Then I don't have a problem. But if they are not, then I also have takeout, so people can just curbside pick up if they want to do that. So in that case, I don't need the delivery app because I'm getting all the money, so they can do curbside pickup. And like I said, prepackaged meals, offer it. Those are the three things I would do, because then those three things will, on top of now having 50% capacity, will hopefully make up for the other 50% that I'm missing, basically.
All right. Okay. So moving on. So
like you said, I think restaurants need to be creative in coming with
everybody
new,
needs
new
to be creative.
income streams.
I mean, not just restaurants. I mean, I actually feel for
or memberships too, like you said, or many restaurants have been doing, and like we said a while back, is offer to customers saying, hey, if you prepay, if you buy gift cards now, we'll basically give you, if you buy a $100 gift card now, it'll be worth $120 basically when you redeem it for meals down the road or something like that. Restaurants you get creative, something basically.
Yeah, you can do some gift cards or some kind of value added for the future. But the bottom line is that you won't.
If you're a restaurant right now, your goal is for the next 12 months to stay open. And so if that means you basically a year from now are making less profits because you sold a bunch of gift cards for $100 that are worth $120, that's okay, because at least you're still open, because you get that cash now. That's the point.
But to get people to go to your restaurant, the main thing is to make sure that you're, or anywhere, let's forget restaurants, to get people to go to your business that is a physical retail type business, whether it's a service business like a restaurant or a hotel or a shop, store, whatever, boutique. You need to make sure that people feel comfortable, that they see that you have all the measures too, so they feel like it's healthy, whether it's everybody wears masks, obviously gloves, there's like sanitizer over the place. I think all restaurants you have like sanitizer more than salt, pepper, or anything. I mean, this you have it at the table, so they go there, you wipe off your stuff. I mean, just so people feel that they can feel clean, and then, in the restaurant's case, your waiter is just coming with all the drinks and things sealed. You can order basically with your phone. You don't have to touch menus or anything. I mean, everything needs to be much more contactless to make you feel comfortable. And then you live there and say, yeah, we had a great meal, and it's fine. And then you feel comfortable the first time, and then the other restaurant seems like they still have this old grimy thing that they just reopened, but they didn't make any changes, and they put a little bit of sanitizer at the door and saying, okay, wash your hands before you leave or whatever. Then that's not going to give me a lot of...
For the dine-in, I would basically... They already do this as far as cleaning the tables, but disinfect the tables, not just wipe them down, but like actually disinfect the tables. As far as drinks and stuff, we're probably gonna have to go back. I know people don't like to hear this environmentally, but like disposable cups and stuff like that. Like I don't want to drink out of a glass. Just give me a cup and then I'll throw it away when I'm done. Maybe it's not as environmentally friendly, but I'll take that over getting the virus.
Maybe bring your own straw or something, like all these recyclable straws. But one thing we're talking about the UV stuff. I mean, one of the things that I read is that some of the hotels are coming with these kind of robots that go around the room with this UV light and they start kind of shining the light over all the stuff. This is kind of like a room service thing or housekeeping, but with light. So they kind of do this kind of light projection through the whole thing with this UV. So it's just, I mean, they're going to have to invent something. They're going to have to make people feel comfortable that, I said, there's the pandemic about the virus itself and the pandemic of the fear where...
I saw that clothing retailers were going to basically, and I don't know how this is going to work, how they're not going to run out of inventory, but they were going to do, if people try something on, then that goes into the back, and then basically no one can touch that piece of clothing for 24 hours, basically. So it's not like you try it on, put it back in the shelf, someone else tries it on, and you have 4 people touching the same thing. They're going to put it in the back for 24 hours and then put it back out. And it's like, okay, but you're going to run out of stuff pretty quickly.
I know.
But that's what they were planning on doing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how else they can treat the clothing or maybe put it through a...
I said that they should get UV machines. Basically, put the clothing through UV in the back or something. Now, obviously, that's not something they just have, so they're going to have to go buy UV machines or something.
I wonder, I mean, like, you know, they said the sun kills the virus.
Yeah, the UV
sunlight.
does.
But I wonder if, like this, you know, like the tanning salons, this beds that they use.
If it's UV...
Like, you can put it, like, lay down their clothing there.
I don't know if those use UV or not. If it's UV, it works. It needs to be UV.
Right.
I mean, UV has been used for a long time as a disinfectant, way before this.
Right.
It does kill bacteria and stuff. So now, obviously, I don't know what the global supply of UV lights is, but I'm sure it's probably going to have a shortage too, just like everything else, if people start buying it. But yeah.
So it's funny because I was looking at companies that have done well during this crisis. I just said before at the beginning of the podcast that the NASDAQ index is actually positive for the year as of today, and we're recording this on May 7th, which is incredible, meaning that all the tech companies are doing very well in the midst of the pandemic and all that. And so you have companies like Zoom, which everybody's using these days for video conferencing stuff, and then Microsoft, obviously, with Teams and everything that is tech company to Facebook, Amazon, those
yeah, I mean, obviously, communications platforms are going to do well.
Right.
But as far as like retailers and D2C, the ones that have done really well, Nike's done really well. Nike... It's been one of the most aggressive in e-commerce of all the major brands. So even though all their stores are closed, they're doing fine. Lululemon has done phenomenally well.
Peloton has done great too.
Yeah, Peloton, obviously, because
everybody's
working out from home now.
Right.
Rogue Fitness, which is one of the biggest.
The one that is like an outlier is Tesla. Tesla has done great.
Really?
And it's just like it's always been a cult, but for some reason Tesla Motors is done actually very well as far as their stocks. So. Beyond Meat now is doing very well too, and that's mostly because there's a shortage of meat in some places now, and some people are starting to go to the meat alternative. So, but I was thinking, you know, talking about hotels and all that stuff, I'm thinking if these hotels provide all these amenities with the companies that are actually doing well, like they say, okay, well, you come to a hotel and you can still have your Zoom conference and you can use Netflix and you can use, we have a Peloton in your room, you have all these things, so you don't have to go to the exercise room.
You know, they were already doing that. That Peloton was already partnering with hotels before this to get Pelotons across the country in hotels.
Right. Because if I go there, I mean, I'd love to. If I have one in my room, it's like perfect. I don't need to go to the
I don't know if it was
going to
be one in every room. That would be ridiculously expensive. But they were going to have the gyms with Pelotons.
Yes. But again, that's the wiping and the person that was before you and all that stuff and, you know, things like that. So, but there's a lot of things that obviously some hotels, like I said, or some businesses will be able to adapt faster than others. But hopefully... like I said, I mean, it's how many or how quickly people will feel comfortable getting back to their normal lives, you know, and the flights and everything. So I don't know. It's interesting that what is you know, sad actually is that there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, you try to follow everything as far as how things are going, and at this point, I think there's little information as far as how impacting the virus could be in the future, how much better it's getting. Each country.
I just think people don't know.
Well,
I just think people have their narratives one way
when
or
you
the
say people, you mean governments or you mean people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think they don't know, and I think that different governments and people who voice their opinions, whether they be politicians or media or whatever, I just think everybody has their own narratives and agendas, and so whatever basically confirms their bias is what they're going to go with. So if you're in the group that's, oh, we need to reopen the economy, then anything that shows that this virus is not as bad as it seems, you're going to be jumping all over. Or if you're one of the people who says, no, we need to stay locked down, then any little piece of evidence that shows, oh, we're going to have a bad second wave or whatever, you're going to jump all over. Like, it's just everyone has their own agendas. And it seems to me that, like, unfortunately, almost like everything, there's a huge polarization where, like, I think that there's that personally I'm very much in the middle of, I'm not on the total, this is a scam, this is a hoax, this is all lies, we should reopen everything, blah, blah. That's ridiculous. Obviously, this is not a scam or a hoax. But then the other people who say, we need to stay locked down for another 3 months, we can't reopen anything. It's like, well, you're going to destroy the economy. Right. So I think that there's a middle ground there, but it almost seems like, at least as far from a kind of a media standpoint and a political standpoint, people have to be like on one side or the other, and it's polarized. I think the answer is in the middle.
I think that people that are more comfortable because they get stimulus checks and unemployment and all that stuff, and they say, hey, why go back to work if I'm getting my money now and just basically being home and all that stuff, those are the ones that are more...
Yeah, but that's short-sighted.
It is short-sighted. I understand. And they say, okay, yeah, I'll go back to work once
what happens if the company that basically you used to work for, that you think, oh, well, I'm just not going to go back to work for another extra month or two. Guess what? They might not exist in a month or two. There might be no job for you to go back to.
I understand. Or your job. I mean, if I call you back saying, okay, we're ready to get started, and you say, no, I don't want to go back, I'm afraid of this and that, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to hire somebody else instead of you, So then you're going to collect unemployment with extra bonus for the next couple of weeks, and then after that, you're going to be really on your own, So, but I think everybody that with a little brain will agree that you can only shut down the economy and live off of printed money basically for so long. And every government in the world is printing money now to keep things going, whether it's bailouts or incentives to people or families and all that stuff, which is fine. This thing just came out of a surprise and nobody expected it, and you need to keep the economy going and the consumers, but you can give people money, but they don't have a way to spend the money, or they cannot go out, or they cannot go out to a restaurant, they cannot go out to a movie, they cannot go out drive, whatever. So at some point people say, I just want to be sure or be comfortable going out again to my normal activities, knowing that I'm not going to get, killed or whatever by the virus. So the virus is the virus. I mean, I think some people will be more affected than others, which normally is the same people that will be affected by any other kind of virus too. But at some point you need to just say, okay, we need to start. Once you get the hospital situation under control and the equipment and the testing and the management of the situation, I think you say, okay, this is a known risk, and then we're going to continue to go because the rewards are going to be much better. So I agree that at this point, all the phases that the governments in different countries are coming up with saying, okay, we're going to do this, make sure that we meet these requirements, and then we're going to continue. And then, yeah, of course, there's going to be another phase. There's going to be another flu season, and there will be a flu/COVID-19 season in the fall. But then hopefully we'll be more ready, and we'll know already what we're expecting, and we have more equipment, we have more respirators and ventilators and all that stuff that we're basically...
the biggest thing is, if everyone wears masks when they go out, if we have wide testing, which still hasn't fully happened yet,
right?
Then things will be.
Ideally, I don't know how difficult it is. Obviously, it might be difficult, but I would love to go to my local pharmacy or drugstore or something and buy a little test, like a pregnancy test, like I said, which is and I put like a little prick of blood or saliva or whatever, which they're coming up with, and then say, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is testing.
And I travel, and then I come back, it's like, okay, I don't have the virus.
If everyone is basically wearing masks when they go out, and then we have testing, then the spread is going to be much, much, much lower, and the second wave will be much more controlled. But if we just start going out and people are really nonchalant about wearing masks and gloves, and then we still don't have wide testing, then that is what's going to potentially cause a second lockdown, because then you'll have a mass spread again. That's the problem. That's the danger. I think the two biggest things that I'm looking at are, one, what does the second wave look like? We know there's going to be a second wave. We just don't know how bad it's going to be. And then two, the other thing that I think less people are talking about that more should be is, what are the longer term side effects of getting the virus? Yeah. Because there's lots of signs that, even once you're fine and you recover, that there's longer term side effects. And we just don't know yet because we don't have enough data. We don't have enough experience. So those are the things. Because imagine if all of a sudden they say, yeah, you get it and you recover, but then a few months later, something bad happens to you or you get really sick again, I think that changes because I think a lot of people who want to reopen are saying, okay, if I get it, I'll be sick for a week and then I'll be fine. Maybe not. We don't know that. That's the thing. We don't know that. So those are the things I'm looking at, and I don't have an answer. We just don't know. We're gonna have to see.
I don't think anybody has an answer. Even when you look at headlines and stuff, they say one thing now, they discover something else. Now they say that there's another strain of the virus that might be.
There's always going to be different strains. Viruses do that. Viruses adapt. But I don't know. I think masks and testing is the answer, really. If you have wide testing and everybody wears masks, then we should be able to keep it under good control. You don't even need test and trace. You just need test. You don't need the trace part.
Yeah, the trace part is another one that is controversial, but it's being reviewed by a lot of countries as far as how could it be done and all that stuff. So I know it's a sensitive topic for you. I don't want to get into it, but there's going to be some kind of...
should be a sensitive topic for everybody.
It is. It is. I mean, it is because, I mean, there's some... I mean, we had that discussion.
We had a whole conversation last week.
I know. So it's not about... Yeah, it's just basically some kind of tracing to... on the research side, but anyways, that's a whole different deal. So, okay, well, that pretty much covers everything that we have for today. Anything you like to add to this podcast?
No, not yet.
I don't know what we're gonna be able to record next week. I'm actually, speaking of traveling, I'm scheduled to be in Texas, actually in Austin, with a racing event with the car. So,
well, Texas is wide open.
I know.
They're just gonna shoot the virus. They say
the
we have our
governor
guns.
is very
open-minded.
So I'll be wearing a mask, a helmet, a balaclava, a fire suit, everything. So hopefully I'll be good. If they don't cancel it, I mean, so far it's open. So I'll be there from probably Wednesday, Thursday next week until Sunday, and then we'll resume. So maybe we can record one on Wednesday. I'm not sure. Do one early one, maybe a shorter one with any latest news. But
I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get something. There's always a lot of stuff going on. I'm actually always optimistic, and I think this is opening a lot of opportunities for...
the biggest opportunity is, my whole point of this article that we started with, and the reason I wrote it was, all these retailers are going under, and that's these retailers that basically are at risk of bankruptcy and closing thousands of stores. Last year in 2019 did hundreds of billions in revenue, and all of that is going to be replaced, and it's going to be replaced by e-com companies, and that's the opportunity. So it's like everything. There's always winners and losers, and these companies were already on the downhill, and this basically just threw them off the cliff.
This is what I was just telling another customer, one of our clients yesterday. I said, this is the time where being agile and being able to pivot on a dime and making quick adjustments really counts.
It's always important, but then in a crisis is when it matters the most.
Because you are managing an aircraft carrier, it's going to be super hard for you to make a turn. It's still going to be a planned, and by the time you do it, then you need to turn again, and you'll never catch up. You need to be a speedboat right now. You need to be super fast, making quick changes and adjusting, because this is a great opportunity for the smaller brands. And we're talking about the advertising cost, which is a whole different topic, but you can really promote your brand and sell directly to consumers much better now, because all these big dinosaur monsters out there are going to be gone, or we're going to be hurting, and they don't even have the infrastructure to adjust. So now it's going to be like weeding out all these old stuff and then letting the new brands basically succeed. And this is your opportunity to shine. And this is actually what is exciting for us, because we work with so many startups and DTC brands and e-commerce and all that is really exciting, actually. So I'm very optimistic about future stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for me. David, thank you for joining me. Hopefully your ugly drink has some effects. I'm not sure if you feel any more perky or not.
See, I already drank a coffee before it, so I probably should have just had it with no caffeine in my system. But
yeah, okay.
Anyways, I'll give my review next week.
All right, well, guys, thanks for everything. We'll be back next week, hopefully for a short one, maybe a little earlier. And until then, everybody had a great week, and goodbye, everybody.
See ya.